Presenting my family and personal history. From indentureship to the classroom, the story I carry with me. My name is Felina Kajidar, and my story did not begin with me. It began generations ago when my ancestors left India as indentured laborers and arrived on the shores of British Guyana on May 5th, 1838. They arrived on two ships, the Whitby and the Hesperus. Their footsteps on the sugar plantations created the path that I now walk on as an aspiring educator. Growing up, I did not fully understand how deeply history lived inside my family. Today, I see that my journey from a small community called Bat Settlement on the west coast of Berbice to the classrooms in the United States is part of a much longer story of struggle, survival, and hope. My foreparents were among the 238,909 East Indians who were brought to British Guiana from 1838 to 1917 under the system of indentureship. They crossed the Kalapani not knowing what awaited them. They were promised to earn an abundance of money and gold. Instead, what they found was hard labor, strict plantation control, and limited freedom. Yet they endured. When I reflect on this journey, I do not only see suffering and hardships, I see courage. I see people who refused to give up even when the system was designed to break them. After indentureship ended, my Indo-Guyanese families, including mine, remained in Guyana. They built villages, cultivated land, and most importantly, placed their hopes in a better future where they can access education. By the time I was born at Fort Wellington Cottage Hospital in Berbice, my family's message was clear: education is the way forward. I grew up in a modest, close knit East Indian Guyanese household where discipline, respect, and hard work were not just expectations, they were survival tools passed down through generations. My childhood was shaped by community. The saying that it takes a village to raise a child was to its truest meaning. I remember playing for hours at the neighborhood playground with my brothers and friends. Life was simple, but it was rich in connection. In school, I worked hard and took pride in learning. Social studies came naturally. Math was a challenge, but I persevered because giving up was never an option. Just because my parents broke the stereotype of giving me an education, it was an opportunity I always choose to honor. Looking back, I realized I was already being prepared to become a teacher. The Guyana my family lived in was still deeply influenced by its colonial past. The legacy of indentureship affected where people lived, the jobs they held, and the opportunities they could access. Because many Indo-Guyanese communities developed in rural plantation areas, families like mine often relied heavily on each other. This created strong bonds, but it also meant limited access to resources and technology. The time and place were not just background details, they shaped daily life, expectations, and dreams. When my ancestors arrived, technology was absent. Communication with India was impossible. Work on the plantations was minimal, manual and physically demanding. During my childhood, technology was still limited. We learned through books, chalkboards, radio programs, and the wisdom of elders. Information traveled slowly, but community knowledge was strong. Today, as I will prepare my future students for a digital world, I am very aware of this contrast. Technology can open doors, but only if access is equitable. This awareness shapes how I think about fairness in education. In Indo Guyanese culture, stories, songs, food, and celebrations carried more than entertainment. They carry memory. Writers like Rajkumari Singh and many unnamed community storytellers preserve the indentured experience through poetry, folklore, and oral history. Some messages were overt, openly describing hardship. Others were covert, quiet acts of cultural survival and resistance. When I tell my own story, I participate in that artistic tradition. Storytelling is not just personal, it is political and it is cultural preservation. Breathe,
Yeah, you don't think.
spin.
Spin. Spin rolling. Yeah.
My family's history helps me see social justice not as an abstract idea, but as a lived reality. Indentureship reminds me of what happened when labor is exploited and voices are silenced. The post indenture experience shows how communities struggle for education, dignity, and opportunity. As a future educator, I carry important questions. Whose histories are centered in our classrooms? Which student voice is overlooked? How do historical inequities still shape student experiences today? These questions will be a guide in my teaching. Because of my journey from an educator in Guyana to the classrooms in the United States, I am especially sensitive to the hidden stories students carry. I understand what it means to navigate different cultures, learning with limited resources, carry family expectations, and work twice as hard for opportunity. In my future classroom, I want every child to be valued, to be seen, and to be capable. I want storytelling, culture, and identity to be a part of learning, not to be separated from it. My ancestors crossed oceans in search of survival. My parents emphasized education is the means to stability and success. I will stand in my future classrooms as an ambassador for equity. When I teach, I am not only delivering lessons, I will honor the sacrifices of those who came before me and work to ensure that my students, no matter their background, know that their stories matter. Their story did not end with indentureship. It continues in every classroom I enter.